Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a comparison between the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 10 in 2021 and basically see which one I guess is the better one to pick up. Now, without a doubt, the iPhone 10 is for sure the better one for sure, but the iPhone 8 Plus, if you still own it, is still a tremendous phone as well. And I've done like 30,000 comparisons between these two throughout their lifetime. Let's go and do another one. If you guys want to pick either one of these up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the front, both of them kind of are a bit different. The iPhone 8 Plus has that 5.5-inch IPS panel. The iPhone 10 has that 5.8-inch AMOLED panel. And for sure, the iPhone 10 just looks so much better. I think the iPhone 8 Plus's panel was still pretty good throughout its lifetime, but I mean, the biggest difference is the bezel. There's just so much bezel on this phone with that home button, which isn't bad, but again, it definitely does date this device. With the iPhone 10, pretty much every single iPhone still looks like this, so it's really not that outdated. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Between these two, you're definitely going to be getting, I guess, a more premium feeling phone overall on the iPhone 10 than on the iPhone 8 Plus. In terms of the thickness and thickness, pretty much the same thing, but we do have the stainless steel band around the iPhone 10, which it makes it feel that much more premium. And on the back, glass backs on both, a very cracked back on my iPhone 8 Plus. Dual camera setups on both with pretty much the same thing, to be completely honest. Wireless charging on both, and for sure they both feel really good. I don't really have like a complaint when it comes down to these two. They both feel pretty much the same, and I really don't think one feels way more premium than the other one. But as I mentioned before, the iPhone 10 definitely looks far superior and far better. As I mentioned, all iPhones still pretty much look like this. With the iPhone 8 Plus, this is an outdated design, and most probably with the iPhone SE2 Plus or whatever, iPhone SE3, whatever it's going to be called, it's definitely going to start probably looking still like this on the iPhone 8 Plus, maybe, who knows. But the iPhone 10, it looks so much better with Face ID and everything. This is almost a no-brainer. But the Touch ID on the iPhone 8 Plus is surely something I really will miss if they ever take out, if they never put it in on the next iPhones. So that pretty much covers it up on the outside. I think another big change between these two, and I think another, similarity between these two phones that's really not too far off is actually the software. Both of these are theoretically going to be getting the same exact software versions between the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 10. There's really not that big of a difference. They both have the same chipset inside of it, so they theoretically should be getting the same software updates year after year. Now, will there be a chance where the iPhone 10 may last longer than the iPhone 8 Plus? Not a chance. Both of these are going to be getting the same software updates, security updates, and all that stuff. So there's really not that big of a difference there. And I think, as I mentioned before, rightfully so. I love seeing these phones get the same, software versions and stuff. But I think another slight change between these two is the battery life and the battery sizes. So the iPhone 10 does, I think, have a slightly bigger battery than the iPhone 8 Plus, but it does have a higher resolution panel and technically a bigger panel as well, even though it's OLED. And I've seen throughout my time using these two phones in particular, the battery life isn't really too good on iOS 14. With the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 10, it's really not that great. They're both still good, for the most part, but compared to something like an iPhone 11 Pro, I was going to go ahead and pull out my iPhone 12 Pro here, but the battery life on this isn't even that good. With something like an iPhone 11 Pro, that battery life is really good. These two are still good, but iOS 14 did take a toll on these battery lives for sure. So in terms of that pretty much covers up a majority of the things I wanted to hit on between these. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both of these phones, and they both have pretty much the same chipsets inside of them, the Apple 11 Bionic chip, as well as 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, all the apps are cleared out in the background except for that one, so let me go and clear this one out. And this one is cleared out too, so let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing on both, not really that big of a difference. Music, 3, 2, 1. And I want to say the iPhone 10, but this one was on a different panel right there. So I'm going to go and load that one up in the background. Let's go and do their app stores, 3, 2, 1. And if I remember correctly, I think the iPhone 10 does have like a Wi-Fi network issue or something like that, which I don't really remember, which is so strange. I will never understand that. So that covers up those ones. I do have a bunch of these third-party apps we can go and get into. Let's go and do Facebook, 3, 2, 1. And both are almost identically the same. They were pretty much almost exactly the same there. Let's go and do Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. And I'm doing these so out of order, so I'm probably not even going to remember which ones I've done. And you can see that the iPhone 10, I think, is on the newer version, or the iPhone 8 Plus, I'm not really too sure. Again, maybe we'll have so we do have a network issue on the iPhone 8 Plus, and maybe we'll have a network issue, again, on the iPhone 10 as well. So a little bit of a difference there. Hopping out of this one, let's go and do Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 8 Plus, I think, actually was a little bit faster there. Getting into some gameplay, let's see if there's a difference. And as always, actually, I don't know. They both are, again, seemingly to be about the same, but that was for sure a little bit of a difference right there. Let's go ahead and do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. iPhone 8 Plus again was a faster one. iPhone 10 a bit behind. Let's go ahead and do, again, I have a lot of apps, but for some reason they're kind of scattered around. We can go into Snapchat. 3, 2, 1. And I think, again, the iPhone 8 Plus may have been just slightly faster. I do have Temple Run, so we can go and try that one out. 3, 2, 1. And we are on different panels on both. I think the iPhone 8 Plus was the faster one to load into it, though, so I think that's another W in my opinion. I think I do have Temple Run 2 as well, which is right here. 3, 2, 1. And I'm surprised I'm even seeing differences. I honestly was not expecting to see any differences between these two phones, considering they're pretty much the same thing for the most part in terms of the chipset. And you can see again the iPhone 8 Plus got into it faster. We did get into a little network issue on the iPhone 10 again, but that's actually pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting the iPhone 8 Plus to be faster in any way, to be honest. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Now, again, this may be due to the network issue that I've been having on my iPhone 10, so I think that's a pretty important thing to keep in mind. But I think other than that, the iPhone 10 actually won in this case. So again, there's like another little bit of a difference between these two. Getting into some gameplay, I think it's about the same. So I think in terms of the gameplay between these two phones, I think the iPhone 8 Plus may be just slightly faster than the iPhone 10. I think they're just very, very close though. There were like once or twice where the iPhone 10 was faster. But I think as a whole, I wouldn't go from one phone to the other based on the performance. Maybe there's some other things I would go, but I don't think that performance is one of those things that would, jump from one phone to the other. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. Now let's go and do a little camera comparison, nothing too super crazy. So they both pretty much have the exact same camera setup. So the iPhone 8 Plus has that dual camera setup as well as that iPhone 10. And there's not a big difference here. They're both pretty much the exact same thing. If there was a bigger difference, I would do a full comparison, but there's really not. You're getting the 12 megapixel wide and 12 megapixel telephoto lens on both of these cameras. And throughout the lifetime of me owning them, I never noticed any difference. I have heard maybe OIS or something is better on the iPhone 10, but in realistic, day-to-day use, after using these things for years and battering them as you guys can see, I don't notice any difference. They're both pretty much the same exact camera when it comes down to it. So to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and buy an iPhone 10 or should you go and buy an iPhone 8 Plus in 2021? I don't know why the lighting just, kind of went weird all of a sudden, but this is pretty much what I'll tell you. If you have neither one of these phones, so let's say you don't have an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone 10, I would 100% recommend buying an iPhone 10. This phone definitely looks far better. It has an OLED display, a little bit of a bigger battery, which really doesn't cause it to be that much better than the iPhone 8 Plus. And the performances are about the same, but you're going to be getting a newer type of, feeling and a newer type of performance from the iPhone 10, mostly because of that gesture-based design. I really do think the gesture-based design really has improved the whole entire just feeling of this phone in general. I still think though, if you own an iPhone 8 Plus, keep it. I would not go from an iPhone 8 Plus to an iPhone 10. If you're going to already upgrade, I would recommend buying like an iPhone 10s or an iPhone 11. Those phones are going to be doing you much better in the long run. But I don't know, I think the iPhone 8 Plus is still a great phone, and I think the iPhone 10 is a really good phone. But if you're talking about, sheer performance or longevity or cameras, they are both pretty much the same exact thing, almost, in every single category. There's not a reason why I would go from one of these phones to the other. But if I had an iPhone 5 or an iPhone 5S or an iPhone 7 and I wanted to go and upgrade, I would hands down pick up an iPhone 10. I feel like this phone is going to be by far the better phone in pretty much every single category. Maybe not in battery life from what I've seen, and the performance seems to be a little bit slightly better on the iPhone 8 Plus. But to be completely honest, I think I would probably recommend picking up an iPhone 10. But like I mentioned before, if you own an iPhone 8 Plus, I would honestly recommend keeping it. I think this phone is still a killer phone in 2021. I think it still has a lot of features, a lot of capability, and it's still getting support for quite a bit of time too. So you're not really missing out on too much from either one of these. But as I mentioned before, I think the choice is clear. I would recommend buying an iPhone 10 if you already don't have either one of these. But that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.